Armstrong talk, big brother looking at the stuff from yesterday. All the drama, all the strategy and silliness from Vito to HOH. Every single season, you know he is the reason. You know what's happening. Rob said that he could do it. Tomorrow he will do it again.
Hello everyone and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for July 4th. It's Independence Day, and we got the song. I played the song live for all the listeners. It was live that time, I promise. Very excited to be here. I am feeling slightly better, despite what my voice might sound like. And just me today. I figured we'd have a shorter one, just me and you, and the rest of the audience. Just quickly go through the highlights of the day. So let's do it. Let's get into it. I'm going to talk about everything that happened on the live feeds yesterday. And feel free to join me. I'm streaming live on YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, and Facebook. If you want to join me, you can type in the chats. I don't know if I see the Facebook comments, to be honest, but I definitely see all the other ones. So if you want to ask me questions along the way, feel free to put those into the chat. But let's get started. So we started the day. Caitlin and Bailey were having a bit of an argument about the events of the previous day. We know that Caitlin had gone through this whole thing with Fessy and Haley, and eventually they Caitlin and Haley hashed this stuff out, and they eventually kind of came around to blaming Swaggy and Bailey for all of this. And Caitlin's gonna get into an argument with Bailey about this whole thing, and like, why is Bailey talking about stuff behind her back, and Bailey's defending herself. Just a bit of drama. Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't really go anywhere exactly, but it does sort of contribute towards this feeling that Caitlin has that she's not really liking the alliance that she's in. They've been talking about kind of like pushing her out of the alliance, and she's kind of been thinking like, I don't know if I like these people. I thought Fessy was my guy. I thought Haley was my best friend. There's drama with them now. Now even Swaggy and Bailey, they seem like they're causing all this drama. I don't know if they like me anymore. So this is not looking great for Caitlin in terms of Faute. It's not looking great for Faute in general. They also had a chance to play or practice the upcoming HOH competition, which I think kind of put a little bit of scare into Swaggy, who was very confident that he'd be able to win the next one. He's going to spend the day talking about like, wait a minute, what if we don't win the HOH competition? What would happen then? Because now that I'm thinking about it, are we a little bit vulnerable? I feel like maybe we are. I don't know. So good on Swaggy for finally sort of starting to realize this. Sam also had a conversation with Scotty. She's basically still just going around trying to make these bonds with people that she's been trying to make bonds with people, but it's difficult because she's a robot. But she talks with Scotty. She tells him, we talked about this a little bit last night on the roundtable, that I've always really liked you. I've always felt like I've had a really good bond with you, and if I hadn't been a robot, then I feel like we could have been really good friends, and like we could have bonded. And Scotty's like, no, yeah, I feel the same way. The problem is, you're up on the block next to Steve, and Steve kind of got to me first. We bonded very early on. So I'm stuck in a tough spot here. So I do think I think the point of this conversation from Sam was to sort of establish a line of credit, I guess. I don't know, but for a relationship with Scotty, that even if he votes to send her home, that she is probably going to stay in the game and then can hopefully go back to Scotty as somebody that could potentially be an ally. I think that's what she's going for, but maybe she's just looking for votes and failing. Who knows? Thomas Scott says Swaggy's a unique player. Sometimes he gets it, but other times he knows nothing. That's very astute. Yes, he knows the game. He knows what he like kind of should do, but then I feel like he gets in his own way. He's just very, very overconfident, which just doesn't work out a lot in the game of Big Brother. So. There was more talk about this Hinky vote plan as well. This plan, which is just one of the most ridiculous things, and I really wanted it to happen, and I feel like it's probably not going to happen. But just in case it does, and just in case you have missed this whole thing, let me explain once more. Steve was very confident about getting a lot of votes. He's felt like, in particular, he had Winston and Brett because Winston and Brett have been making him feel good, and he has a good relationship with them. Angie Rockstar does not like that. Angie Rockstar does not want Steve to have a good relationship with the bros. So when Steve was telling Rockstar that, hey, look, I've got Winston and Brett's votes. I've got them. Don't worry about it. Rockstar was like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want Steve to get their votes because then Steve will feel good about them and he can play the middle. He can go over to their side. And Steve had also told her previously that if Brett and Winston had voted against him, that he would be very upset about that. He'd be going against them, like very annoying, very, very hardcore against those guys for betraying his trust. So her idea was, well, what if we vote to evict Steve, knowing that the bros are going to vote to keep him, and then we can blame our votes on the bros. Beautiful plan. It'll totally work. And usually people come up with these plans and they never happen. But they came up with this plan the day prior to yesterday and then reinforced the idea that they might actually do it today, which doesn't often happen with a plan as bad as this one. So I was starting to get a little bit excited. I felt like, oh man, maybe this could actually work. This could actually work in the sense that it can like happen and then fail. So I was very excited. H Stratford in the Twitch chat says Steve said if it's a 6-7 vote he's gonna explode, which is sort of what they wanted to do. Matthew says this is my first time watching live after listening to the podcast for over a year. This is so much more fun. Thank you. It is a lot more fun. You get to talk to me, and I get to talk to you. Also, you had no idea what I looked like. I hope I didn't disappoint. If Pokemon says if Brett and Winston vote Steve out or are framed, will Steve target the bros? Here's the thing, and here's why I think this plan wouldn't work. Even if it did work, even if everything was perfect and the bros did vote to keep Steve, and Angela and Haley or whoever it was did vote to evict Steve to make the vote 7-6, they're not going to get away with framing the bros. It's so difficult to frame people for votes. It just doesn't work. So, like, Angie Rockstar can be like, no, I voted to keep it. But if the bros are adamantly like, no, dude, why would we do that? We talked about it. We had a whole conversation at 3 a.m. And we specifically said, we told Tyler we didn't want to do it. And like other people can back them up and Tyler can be like, yeah, they did actually tell me that. Like there's no way that they're going to be able to get away with blaming the votes on somebody else to the point where it ruins a relationship. It just doesn't work that way. And worst case scenario, obviously, is that the bros end up voting to keep Sam. They vote to keep Sam, and then they end up accidentally sending out an ally, which is just so dumb. So that's that whole thing. But like I said, I was looking forward to this. I was hoping it was going to go through. Unfortunately, later on in the day, there are going to be a couple things that are going to kind of make it seem like this might not happen. One of those things is that Caitlyn had another conversation with Tyler. We mentioned yesterday that their relationship has been blossoming. They've been getting closer and closer. And Tyler is really trying to flip Caitlyn to his side. And they're just going to continue to talk about that. Caitlyn's going to complain about Fessy and complain about Swaggy and Bailey. And Caitlyn is going to talk about how, my intuition is always right, and my intuition is telling me that if I was watching from home, I would be telling myself I need to get rid of Swaggy and Bailey and Fessy and all of them, and meanwhile, like Tyler, who just like is just trying to seed as much dissension and distrust as possible, is just like, man, yeah, intuition. So yeah, good intuition. Yeah, like he's just loving this. I guess I should be like, yes. That's Tyler. That's my face impression of Tyler, just eyes wide. So Tyler is like really feeling like, okay, I might actually be able to flip Caitlyn here, and he goes as far as to say, okay, like, what if I knew some things about the other side, like maybe they might be receptive to you coming over and voting with them, or talking with them, and then maybe if we kept somebody like Sam, who is doesn't really have any solid loyalties, we could have her loyalty, and then you could be good with both sides. And I'm just thinking like that seems like some stuff that might work out for us. And initially Caitlyn was like, no, I can't vote against Steve. He's like my dad. But over the course of some time, she eventually kind of comes around and she says, you know what? I do kind of like that idea. You've kind of my mind blown right now. And he's like, yeah, oh yeah, mine too. I just came up with this idea. Boo, mind explosion. And it seems like she's considering it. Do I think she'll actually vote that way? I honestly don't think so. I think it's too bold a move to like full on flip your vote. But I do think she's willing to sort of slide into the middle with Tyler, which is not a bad place for her to go. Although I do worry for Tyler that the more people he pulls into the middle with him, the bigger a target he becomes sitting next to all of those middle people. Another thing to pay attention to here is in this conversation, Tyler may have gone a little too far in terms of revealing information, because he not only tells her that the other side would be receptive to, taking her in. He lets her know that they're all going to be voting to keep Sam. Which obviously, if Caitlyn goes and tells the rest of Faute and all of them that all those 6 votes are locked in, then the Hinky vote plan will not work. He also tells her, hey, what if Sam had a power? Have you ever considered that? And of course, she says, no, I hadn't considered that, because none of them have, and it's so dumb of them to not consider that the robot might have a power. And he says that, like, well, she is a robot. Like, of course she would get a power. He doesn't go much further than that, but he does really heavily imply, and I really feel like he's dropped enough hints that there are going to be people that are like, he knew beforehand, right? Like, he must have known. Why didn't he tell us? So Tyler, again, playing a great game, but definitely, playing a risky game. We'll see how Tyler does coming into the next week, because there's a lot of plates that could just fall, and Jenga blocks that could crumble. Witless says Tyler won't need to keep it up for 99 days. There will come a time where the game will switch gears, and Tyler has earned a lot of goodwill that should keep him safe. I agree. I think there's while he is playing a risky game, he has also done a lot of good things to provide him a lot of different landing points if something bad happens. So I'm very interested to see where Tyler goes, because there are a lot of different directions, and introducing a little bit of adversity to his game could lead to some very good feeds and television. Speaking of Tyler, like everybody talked about how much they love Tyler, like between Haley and Caitlyn, and then like Scotty and Swaggy, they were all saying like, yeah, we trust Tyler. He's a good dude. He's a stand-up guy. Swaggy does kind of recognize that Tyler's in a good spot, and he doesn't like that Tyler was so willing to put Bailey up as a pawn. But nobody's targeting him at the moment. And that's kind of crazy, considering the fact that he's probably very good at competitions. He's clearly in good with absolutely everyone. We'll see how it goes for Tyler. Caitlyn and Fessy are going to get into yet another argument about everything that happened. They're eventually going to make up, but it's just like Caitlyn berating Fessy, like, why did you continue to think that I was jealous or that? And he was like, you told me you were jealous. And she said, no, that was days ago, and I told you I was fine afterward. And he's this was just. This is more of these conversations. Just there's just drama. You guys get it, right? I don't need to. It's the same conversation every time. So they're gonna have that conversation. Swaggy and Fessy are gonna talk about how this is when Swaggy is kind of starting to like, well, what if somebody else wins the HOH? People like Caitlyn and Haley, they seem to be good on all sides. They seem to be good with everybody. They're the people that are going to be safe if the other side wins the HOH. We're the people that are going to be targeted, and I don't like that. That's kind of sketchy to me. What are they going to do about it? I have no idea. I don't think they can do anything about it at the moment. But they are starting to recognize it, which is better than where they were before. Very, very interesting and important thing to note. We talked yesterday and last night about the inappropriate comments made by Angela and Rachel about the color of their skin. And this made headlines. It made The Hollywood Reporter and TMZ and all of these articles were written about it. And CBS did in fact step in. And they released a statement to the public, and they also, which basically said, these do not reflect the views of us, whatever, and we have reprimanded them. We've spoken to them. This is not going to appear on the show, but they have been warned. They have been reprimanded, and we did see the results of that on the feeds today or yesterday. Rachel and Angela were very down in the dumps after having been talked to about the comments that they made, and hopefully this means we're not going to see any more of it. Hopefully they have learned their lesson. But they were spoken to. We are not going to see it on the show, I imagine, unless more of it happens. But that is how CBS decided to deal with it. I personally feel like this is the right move. I prefer them sort of being reprimanded in the moment, and hopefully to prevent this kind of thing from continuing to happen. So we'll see how they handle this information moving forward, because I'm sure especially somebody like Rachel knows the impact that that kind of thing had on house guests from Big Brother 15, and she's going to be in the house for the rest of the season knowing like what is being made of me outside the house right now. Like she's gonna spend the entire rest of the season think she's hated to an extreme, which is very interesting because we don't usually have that. You don't usually know if you're hated. So we'll have to see how that plays out going forward. And just interesting stuff all around. We also had Scotty and Tyler having a conversation. Tyler had brought up this theory that Scotty might vote to evict Steve and keep Sam. He finally is made aware that that's not going to happen. Scotty says that he wants to keep Steve in the house, and Tyler's like, okay, cool, that's fine. I'm happy with that. And they also talk about Haley. Scotty is a little bit worried about how Haley is everywhere, and Tyler says, don't worry, dude, I'm aware. And Scotty feels good about that. So Scotty feels good about Tyler. That's a good thing, because Scotty is actually very he's very influential in some ways. The information that he brings to Swaggy influences Swaggy a lot. So if Scotty decided to turn on Tyler, he's one of the few people I think that could really ruin Tyler. Whereas most other people wouldn't be believed, I think, and people wouldn't care as much. Sorry, one more thing I forgot to mention, because Vegas had been tweeting about the spoiler. Vegas had been tweeting about the talking to that they had. Vegas said about Angela and Rachel, before today's house guest meeting, Rachel and Angela were talked separately to by Allison in the diary room, same as JC. So they also had a conversation with JC about his behavior. Each cried after hearing how their comments were hurtful and expressed real remorse. Appears to be very genuine from Rachel and Angela. Time will tell. That's what Vegas said about what happened. And so take that for what you will. All right. So moving forward, Brett and Winston are going to have a conversation late in the night. And it's they're really going to continue to ruin our fun here, because Brett and Winston are like, you know what? Screw Sam. We don't want Sam. We want Steve. We like Steve. Credit to Steve. He's done a good job with these bros. They feel good about him. They want him in the house. And you know, they're talking, they're going around, they're like, do we really want to draw the line so early, make it so blatant for Sam? For Sam? Like, yeah, for Sam, dude. Like, Steve is on the other side of the house. What are you doing? These bros, they really want Steve, and they get themselves all pumped up about it, and they are like, you know what? We're not gonna let anyone talk us out of this. We're voting to keep Steve in the house, and we're gonna tell Tyler. How do we tell Tyler? We're gonna just tell Tyler that, like, look, we just want Steve. We need a father figure in the house. We need our dad. I don't know. Like, I don't know what they're doing here. They're ruining everything. I really wanted the Hinky vote thing to happen. There's so many things that are gonna ruin it. But this is a significant event here. It seems like for now, Brett and Winston are very solid in wanting to keep Steve in the house. If they continue to want to keep Steve in the house, then that is it. Steve will stay, which, is fine. Sam does have the power. She'll probably stay anyway. But it just would have been fun. Would have been fun. All right. Then finally, late in the night, Swaggy is talking to Bailey. And they're a bit done with Caitlyn at this point, and Swaggy's gonna tell Bailey about Faute, which finally kind of breaks this, because she wasn't in Faute technically, but she was at the same time. So there it is. She now knows about Faute. She thinks it's funny. And that's about it. Let me know if you have any questions about the day that you want me to talk about before I start to wrap up this morning. My voice, my throat is starting to hurt a little bit, but I can answer a couple of questions. Annie says you've never seen Taran Milano first pick so much. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Sometimes you don't pick correctly. That's what happened with Winston. Diana says, Winston, you hope he continues to too hard too early, so he ends up on the chopping block. There's something about him you don't like. A lot of people don't like Winston in the house. Where the vote stands right now, that's a good question, Rain. The vote stands, the way the vote stands right now is, I think it'll be something like 9-4. And that's because Swaggy also had a conversation when Swaggy was talking to Fessy. They kind of talked about, like, maybe it is too risky to throw any votes any hinky votes. Maybe we shouldn't be doing that. So right now it looks like the vote is potentially 9-4, with the bros not wanting to vote to keep Sam. But we know Tyler will push back hard to try and get the bros back on board. So I don't think this is a final vote tally at all. I think that ultimately we might see a 6-7 vote. And if not, we might see something like a 11-2 vote or something along those lines. It'll be interesting to see where the vote goes, but I don't think it's finalized right now at all. How are Witless wants to know, how are Swaggy and Bailey doing at hiding their showmance? It's not hidden. Not at all. Not even close. When did Angela and Rachel get talked to yesterday? I'm not sure the exact time. I don't know if I didn't see them leave the diary room or anything. Somebody else might have a better idea of that. Because I didn't even realize it had happened until much later. Susan wants to know, is Sam keeping her power a secret so she can see where people's loyalties lie? I don't think so. I think she's mostly keeping it a secret because she'd love to be able to keep it a secret. But, I think she might start telling people if she feels like she's going to get voted out anyway. Riyadh, Summer of Steve will probably stay, yeah. Summer of Steve 2018. Cortana says, should Sam tell the Six about her power? Yeah, I think that, like I said, if it looks like she's going to be voted out, she might as well just start telling people. Thomas said, who's in the best spot so far? I think that's Tyler, for now at least. Allison Grodner is the person that talked to the girls, Amy. Cindy wants to know, do you think Tyler has an actual number 2, or is he still playing options? I think he's still considering his options. He talked a lot about Caitlyn being his ride or die, but that's a very recent thing. He also talked to Sam a lot about being like, we're together, and I believe one of the spoilers from Vegas was that he and Casey had a final 2, and he talks to JC a lot. So I think he kind of makes people think they're his number 2, but I don't think he has an actual one at the moment. Rain says, how do you think the power will play out if it's used? I think she'll come out. Maybe she'll compete in the HOH, and then as long as she doesn't come in last place, then she gets back into the house, something like that. Diana says, what did JC do wrong in terms of getting a talking to? JC, I don't know. I guess I don't know the exact term that you would use, but he touched people inappropriately, both with an ice cream scooper and just with his hands, this in what could easily be construed as assault. And he was told not to do that anymore. So hopefully he does not do that anymore. Riyadh wants to know, who will be the next target in the house? Winston, Swaggy, Angela, Bailey, these people are big targets right now. And something would have to change in the house dynamic in order to prevent them from being the next big targets, I think. All right. That's about it. That's all my voice has for this morning. I will be back tonight for the episode recap. Hopefully we get some more good stuff on the episode, and we'll have plenty to talk about. Thank you again, guys, for joining me this morning. I apologize for my voice and for the bit of a short. It's fun to do to have an audience participation update once in a while. So I enjoyed this. I hope you did too, and I hope you enjoyed the music at the start. Live music, and by live I mean I press play, so it's like halfway live. Thank you again for hanging out with me. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. Make sure you tune in tonight for the episode recap, and follow me on Twitch, Taran Armstrong. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.